This conference will now be recorded.
Okay. So in last class, just we understood some of the basics. Okay, how we deal with the arithmetic and logical operators. We understood about the relational operators and also the logical operators, how we can work. So now we have next type of statements, conditional statements. So how we deal with the conditions. Okay, so let's understand about that. Okay, mostly the conditional statements we use if and different flavors of if. We have if and if the condition is not satisfied, if you want to execute some other statements, we have else. Okay, so the syntax will be so like this: if some condition that is satisfied, the lines whatever we keep that will execute. Okay, maybe example. So let me so just for example. Okay, so here I'm just supplying undefined, right? So undefined is a false value, right? So internally JavaScript will convert that one as false. False means it cannot enter, right? So then it will enter into else flag. We can also else is optional in case if the condition is not satisfied. If you want to execute some other set of statements, we use else. Okay, so let's say here I'm saying console.log. I'm just saying inside else block. Okay, so here I'm saying console.log. Here I'm giving as inside if block. Okay, and also we don't want to print the previous things, so all those things I'm just commenting. Okay, so that we can focus on only these things. I'm saving, and also you know how to see the results, right? So we open this HTML file in the browser. Okay, so this is the browser, and inspect and click on console. Now if you see, it is inside the else block, right? So let's say if I give not, right, not, anyway undefined is false, not of false will be true, right? So that means it will, okay, so that means it will enter into if block, right? So just I'm refreshing, if you see it is inside the if block. Okay, I think so if you don't have any questions, please stay on mute. Okay, um, so you can unmute and ask your questions if you want. You know, go back. So now here if you see, you are seeing inside if block. That is the way we need to write. Okay, and also, sorry, and also we have one more flavor. Let's say if is not satisfied, we can also check for one more condition like that. Okay, so maybe here giving undefined only. Here I'm checking one more condition, else if, right? Here I'm checking. Okay, so here simply I'm supplying text, right? So I mean, if any text or number other than 0, as soon as there is some value, JavaScript will consider that one as true. right? It will enter into this else if. Okay, so we use else if in case if condition is not satisfied, and if you want to verify, if you want to check one more condition and write some logic, so that time we go with else if. Okay, so like that we can write inside else if, first else if. We can use multiple, you can add any number, right? And also let's say, just for example, 10 greater than 50, right? So that is wrong, and or is 100 greater than 50, this is true, right? So here I'm keeping that console log inside second else if block. Now, so what do you think will be the result? So anyway, this is false, it won't enter anything. So else if test, so any value other than 0, undefined, those things will be considered as true, right? It will enter and print. But do you think the next condition 100 greater than 50 also correct? So what is the result we see? Do you think we see both or only one? Okay, so initial phase we have that confusion, right? So the point is, even though we give else if 10, 20 times also, the thing is, out of all these blocks, any one of the block will be executed. It's not like, say example, if the if condition is satisfied, it will stop here. Sorry. So it won't check for the else if. Okay. So if this is failed, then only it will check for else if. Right. If this is failed, then only it will check for this one. Okay. So just it works like that. Due to this, so what will happen? In the result, you will see only this. Okay. So let's check. Just to refresh. That first else if block. Right. Let's say if this is satisfied, I want to execute that logic. And if this is satisfied, that time also, sorry, at that time also I want to execute the logic. So if you want like that, we go with the if series. Okay, meaning we don't use else if. We keep multiple if blocks one after other. So that if this condition satisfied, it will enter execute. If this condition satisfied, it will enter inside and execute. Right. So now we'll see both is true, it will be printing. Okay, so now go back just to refresh. You see it is printing both. Okay, so that is how these conditional statements we use. So we use these conditional statements to control which statements you want to execute and which statement you don't want to execute. So those kind of scenarios. Okay. So the next thing, while working with JavaScript, so we also have switch case. One of the other type of condition. Okay. So example, let's say we want to verify for the weekdays. Just an example. So how we verify whatever we supplied, it is which weekday, Sunday or Monday or Tuesday. Okay, so how it works. So let me saying switch case. This is the example. So okay, I'm defining. And anyway, we are not changing that, so you can also take as constant. Okay, so here I'm hard coding. So let's say I'm keeping Monday. Okay, so now the day can be anything. It can be Monday or Tuesday or Wednesday. Based on that, I want to execute some different logic. So that time, instead of using if condition, right? If you go with if, we have to say if Monday, else if Tuesday, else if Wednesday, like that. Using switch case, how it works. So we use switch. Okay, so here the day, the variable, whatever we want, that one. So here keep on, like, what we do case. Okay, so I'm checking this day value. Is it Sunday? If it is Sunday, so inside this, whatever I'm going to write, that will execute. Right. So console.log. Yeah, so I'm just saying this is Sunday, something like that. Same, the same way. Right. Right. So I'll say Monday. Thursday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Okay. So and also, right, um, once one of the condition is satisfied, and also here not semicolon. Okay, it should be colon. Okay, so let's see. Um, what is the result we see, right? So and also if none of these things satisfied, right? No, sorry, we can also give default. Something like this I'm printing. Let's see the result. You see, right? So it is printing everything. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, which is wrong, right? The thing is, so let me give this one as Wednesday. Okay. Just to refresh now, if you see from Wednesday, the remaining everything it is printing. Okay. So until the first one it makes, it's waiting. After that, everything it is printing, right? Which is not good. So due to that reason, always what we need to do, we need to use the break. Okay. So once it is satisfied, we don't want to verify the other conditions. Okay. In case if you want to verify, you don't use break. But if you see you are seeing some bad results, so it's better to use the break. Okay. So that won't continue further. Only if that case executes, only that part. And so it's better to do like this. Okay, so let's see. Just to refresh. No, sorry. If you see, you are only seeing Wednesday, right? So like that. Okay, maybe if you use something which is not valid, invalid day, right? So like that. Okay, that is about the switch case. Okay, the whatever you are comfortable, the if conditions or the switch case, we can consider using this whenever we have a situation to control which set of statements it should execute. Okay, so this is about the conditional statements. Um, any questions on understanding? This is very simple. So any questions on understanding this? Okay. So now let's go with the next type of statements, the loops. So we have the uh, looping statements. Sometimes we need to execute the statements repeatedly, or some of the logic repeatedly we need to execute. So that time we use the looping statements, looping or controlling statements. Okay. Or we also sometimes say, okay. So here in the JavaScript, we have different types of loops. Let me give different examples how we deal with the loops. Yeah, example, let's say I want to print from what? Sorry, 1 to 10. Okay. So how we can do? We can use simple for loop. For loop, I'll say index is for loop. How we can define for? Okay, so first uh, we have to define a variable with some default value. Okay, so I'm giving as let I equal to 0. Okay. This is a default value, and until here we need to give the condition until 10, right? Until I less than 10. Okay, and as a third expression, we have to give the increment, because if you don't increment I value, it will never meet this condition, right? So I'm incrementing. So this is how we define the for loop. Okay. So first this will be executed, and after that it will verify this condition. This is true, it will enter inside and execute whatever we have inside. Let's say I'm printing that I value, and after that it will execute this increment I value by 1. After that it will verify 1 less than 10, it will enter and print that, and again it will increment 2 less than 10. So until 10 less than 10, it failed. It will stop entering into the for loop. So like that it will work. Then let's see the results, right? So in general we start the loop with the 0, so not from 1. The reason is, so if you remember, we defined a array, right? Where we added multiple values in the array, right? So to access the array values, array will hold index. Okay, index starts from 0. So sometimes when we deal with the loop, we need to deal with the array and read the values of the array, because um, when there are multiple values, index starts from 0. So most of the times you see it is starting from 0. Okay, maybe for our example, you don't want to start with 0, you can start with 1. I can give less than equal to 10, like that. Okay. Um, anyway, I want to start with 0. Okay, so the next thing, this is a simple for loop. Okay, so let me show you how we deal with the array. Okay, most of the times when we have array, that time we try to loop through each and every value and do some logic. Okay, so let me define an array and I'll show you how we loop through each and every element and access the values of the array. Okay, so now, sorry, so my array, we can give any name. Let's say number array equal to here. And also one more thing. So array, it's not like can have same values, same data type values. In the array, in JavaScript, okay, maybe in Apex it is different. In JavaScript, in an array, we can keep the elements of different data types also. Okay, so that is possible. Okay, so maybe, so let me define some text. Okay, so we can use multiple different data types. Sorry, today I think not well. So here, inside array, again we can also use one more array. That is also possible. But when you are writing this much in the same line, it's very difficult to read. So what we can do, we can also split this into multiple lines. Okay, so you can also, if you want, sorry, you can give like this. Okay, so let's say Chetan is having admin certification, platform developer 1 certification. Okay, so let's say he's a Salesforce developer. All right, in the array, I'm keeping different values. So like this also you can do. Okay, so now, so what I want to loop through the each and every value of the array. So how we can loop through? In the same way, same thing, I equal to 0, because in the array the first element will be in the 0th index. Okay, so here instead of 10, what is the size of the array? To know the size of the array, we use array name dot length. That will give the size of the array. Let's say we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 4. So 0 to less than 4 means 0, 1, 2, 3. 0, 2, 3, total 4. 4 times it will loop through. Okay. So here, if I print I, that will be nothing but the index at 0, 1, 2, 3. But what is the value? Maybe I'm keeping comma to get the value. So whatever the array name, that one, to access the value from the array, right? We give like this and supply the index. 0 means the 0th element. Instead of hard coding, I'm giving I. That means first time in the loop, a value is 0. In the 0th position, this is the value. In the next iteration, a value will be 1. 1 means this value. So like that it will print. Okay, let's see. So if you see 0, Chetan, and then the first index 30, second index, all those things you are seeing, right? So just understand. Okay. So this is the way. Okay. And also I want to show you while working with this loops, right? We have break and continue. So we should aware of those, when to use break and when to use continue. Okay. In this loop, so let's say um, this one I am not disturbing. One more time I'm repeating that same loop. Okay, so here I want to stop printing if the array value is a number. That time I want to stop printing the further values. Okay. So if you want like that, if you have such kind of situation, so what we do, if, right, I want to know the data type of that IRA of I, whatever the value, first time Chetan, right? It won't be a number, it will be a string. Second time it will be a number, right? I'm just checking. So is it really a number? Okay, and also this is case sensitive, right? So make sure to follow the cases. So if this is a number, okay, break the loop means it will stop iterating for the remaining elements. So it will start here. So that is a string. So it will still continue. But second time, so that will be a number. It will break. Break means it will stop iterating for remaining elements. Remaining iteration, it will stop. Okay, that time we use break. Okay, let's see. Okay, if you see second time in the iteration, it stopped after Chetan because the other element is a number. Number means we are breaking. Break means after break, it won't print anything. So that's the break. Okay, so we need to know when to use that. The next thing, we also have something like continue. So when to use continue, right? Maybe same loop I'm taking what I want from this array, except this 30, the numbers I want remaining everything else except the number. So that time if you want to skip, so here instead of break, if I give continue, what will happen after this, the remaining statements in this block, it will stop executing, but it will continue with the next iteration. It won't stop iterating. It will only stop executing the remaining statements after this continue. That's what it will do. Okay. So now if you see here, except 30, it will print everything. Okay. Let's see. Now if you see, right, um, except Chetan, except 30, remaining everything it is able to print. Okay, so just so understand that part, right? So any questions so far? So those are about the some of the so looping statements and all those kind of things. Okay. The next thing, input and output. Okay, so that one it is too early for us to discuss. So going forward, okay, we'll work with those. Okay, so input, output. Just one basic thing. Uh, output purpose we use get. Input purpose we use set. Okay, so now it is too early to explain that. So only when we have the web page, when we develop the web page, that time we can understand more about this. Okay, for now I'm not touching this. Okay, so now if you see so far, whatever we discussed, we are discussing about the different types of statements, what we can write while developing a program. Okay, so now we need to know. So simply if you write these statements and execute, it's not a good thing, right? So we need to organize these statements into a meaningful instruction, right? So example, we have a car. So when you start the car, so it will start the car, then everything automatically won't happen, right? So automatically applying brake, automatically accelerating, everything if we do, it's a problem, right? So we should be able to control. You should have option to instruct car to accelerate. We should have option to apply the brake, right? We should have different options so that only that particular uh, functionality should execute and we will see the results, right? In the same way, this we know just we are understanding the syntax of the statements, but in a meaningful way, how we keep, right? So let's say in the car we say brake, accelerate, start, stop, different options, right? So here also for that, okay, so we use functions. Okay, one function is like one instruction. In that we keep whatever the statements you want to execute, we can execute. Okay, so maybe while working with Apex or Java, we call that as method. Okay, so still I'm not going to that part. Okay, so before we discuss those things, so little bit let's understand more about. So maybe let me explain the some of the so basic functions and a little bit more about arrays and all those things. Then we'll start writing a exact program and how it works. Okay. So now let me define a function. Okay. So far we're writing all these statements and immediately all these are executing when the page is loaded, right? So, but I don't want to execute until I call. We need to instruct. Let's say I click on a button, then only it should execute. So for that, we define the functions and call that. And click on a button, just call that function so that it executes the logic present in that, right? So here I'm just giving JavaScript functions. So let me define a basic function. Okay, syntax. Um, we give as function some name, function name, right? And this giving something like this, right? We give the bracket, at least empty bracket like that. We need to give, and we keep these curly brackets, the block of statements, whatever you want to write. When we call this function, so whatever the statements we write inside this, all those things it execute, right? So now what I'm doing, just simply, so I'm printing inside the function. Okay. Now if you see, you don't see this, maybe the remaining things, let me comment so that we can focus on only this, commenting everything. Yeah, this function, until we call, it won't execute automatically. Okay, if you see, I'm refreshing this page, and if you see, nothing is there, right? So when this will execute, we have to call, right? So maybe I'm calling from here, right? Call the function, whatever the function name, like this we need to call. Okay. So this is the way. Now we are calling. Due to this will execute. Okay. So now just to refresh. Now if you see inside the function. Okay. Now also I'm just referring here. But going forward, when we develop the web page, we can see how we call this instead of keeping like this. Okay, that is a very basic function, how we define and how we call the function. Okay, so let's define some meaningful functions. So let's define a function. Um, so let's say if you go to the restaurants, right? So what is the bill amount, right? Uh, just we want to maybe each person, right? Let's say we went to a restaurant with friends, and each one they are distributing that payment. Okay. So how we do that calculation? Let's say 5 members went to restaurant. Let's say buffet, right? The price is, let's say, 700 Indian rupees, right? So total, what is the bill? Just we are assuming and just defining one function, right? So function, just I'm saying calculate bill. This is the name of the function. Okay, so here for the functions, right, we also can provide the input, right? So what is the price per head and how many people, right? Maybe price will vary. Maybe weekdays one price, weekend one price. Every time we don't go with maybe 5 members, sometimes 10 members, 20 members, right? Based on that, dynamically you should calculate, right? So dynamically the price and also number when we supply, so it should do the calculation and return the full amount whatever we need to pay. Okay, so here I'm saying calculate bill. So amount, I'm supplying one parameter, and right. So the other parameter, number of people, right? or otherwise let's say quantity, amount and quantity. If you supply, it has to do the calculation and the return, right? So to calculate amount multiplied by quantity, right? So this one we want to return. We call this function by supplying what is the amount, what is the quantity. I want the result in return. Okay, so if you want to return after calling this function should return some value. So we use this. We have a statement called return. We use that. Okay, it is optional. If you don't return, it will just you can print inside that and do something, right? So let's say we are returning. Okay, so now let me call and see. So what is the result? Okay, so here, so I'm going to call uh, calculate bill. I'm supplying, let's say price is 700. Let's say 5 people. Okay. So after calling, this function will return a value, right? Whatever it is returning. So I'm going to print in the console and see. Okay. I'm saying console.log. I want to print in a meaningful way using this text, right? Template string. So here total bill amount. This is the dynamic part, calling that function. Okay, so now let's see. We'll see total bill amount 3,500, right? So it is returning. Sorry. So this is the way, right? How we define and how we call it. Okay. So now, uh, just I want to show you. If you use this statement even before defining the function, right? Before defining the function, so here I'm calling, but the function is down. So it will work or not, right? Still, you'll see the same result, right? So as soon as this function is defined anywhere in this file, so it can call it and it can give the same result. Okay, so just understand. Okay, so now in this function also, right, we have different flavors of the functions. Okay, so we have function expression. Okay, so what is that? I'll explain. Okay, so in general function, we say function name, like that we define, right? Sometimes what we'll do, uh, so I'm defining one variable, calculate bill, some short form I'm using, and we can define a function without any function name, right? Same thing I'm printing, but here you see this function without any name, function no name, parameters we are supplying. This is an anonymous function, right? When you define like this, it should be assigned to some variable, so that using that we can call. Okay, this syntax we call as function expression. Okay, I mean, I'm just giving some basics of the JavaScript so that while working with LWC, it will be easy for you. Okay, so now if you want to call this, right? Yeah, same way, calling total bill amount. This time, this function I'm calling, maybe here, let's say give 10. Okay, now if you see, we're also seeing the same kind of result, but this time we have a different quantity. So now this one, right? I'm defining on top. Right? So now this calc bill is not a direct function; it's a variable, right? Which is holding the anonymous function. So now you see some error. Okay, cannot access. Yeah, when you define like function expression, the thing is first this expression should be defined, then only, right, we can call. For function expressions we cannot call from anywhere. It should be later part of this logic. Okay, so just one point, technically this we call as, okay, so hoisting, JavaScript hoisting. Really you don't know the terminology also, as soon as you know the concept it is fine. Okay, so only if you are teaching someone, so sometimes while reading, to know that technical terminology will be useful. Yeah, anyway, if you know it will be always good. Okay, so this won't work. This won't work. Okay, so but if you call the same thing here, it will work. Yeah, I'm just keeping some notes for us. Okay, so the next thing, okay, so we have um, a concept called arrow function. Okay, so nowadays, so we use these arrow functions, all those things while working with LWC. Okay, so let's also understand about the arrow function and how it works. Okay, so let's say we want to calculate the age. Okay, so in general, so how we define as a regular function. So let's say constant calculate is equal to, so function, right? If you supply the birth year, right? So from the current year, let's say 2024 minus, I'm for now hard coding. That also you can bring dynamically. Slowly we'll understand those. So whatever they supply birth year, that one. If you subtract, what we get is that is the is, right? In general, so this is the way how we define, right? So in the arrow function, I'm just giving as is one. Okay, same thing in arrow function, how we define, I will show you. Okay, in the arrow function, only the difference is we don't use this function, just to remove, right? Instead of that, so we use this arrow, right? So maybe this function name I'm giving as this too. Okay, this is the way. That's it. Only the difference is, so we remove this function and we give this. Okay, and also, so little bit other advantages, right? No need to use if there is only one parameter, right? Only one value if you are supplying to that function. No need to have bracket. Only if we have multiple, that time we use bracket. That is one thing. And also, so when we are having only one statement, not multiple statements, only one statement and you are returning, that time no need to use this, right? This block like this. So what we can do, we can remove that. Even we can remove that return. Automatically it will return this. Okay, only this is going to work if you have only one statement. Right? If there are multiple, still you define like this. Right? Now if you see in one line we have the function. Yeah, this we call as arrow functions. Okay, so just understand. Okay, so still if there are multiple statements, we follow this syntax. Okay, so now let's call it and see. Right? Simply I'm saying console.log calculate is one into that function. Let's say I'm supplying 1990 and I'm supplying 1989 like this. So now just to refresh, now if you see we are seeing 34. So what about the other one? Oh, okay, sorry. So this I have to call calculate age 2, right? In this, so let's say 1985. Okay, okay, we're seeing like this 34, 39, those ages. But the second one is due to the arrow function. Okay, this is the arrow function. Okay, so just to understand that. And also there are many more calling one function from other function, all those things. For now, I don't want to touch that. Okay, so now with this we understood some of the different types of statements and how we define the functions. So little more before we start working. Okay, so let's understand some of the important um, functions about the array. Okay, so while working with the array, okay, so we use so some basic array operations we should know. Okay, so and also object, some basic operations we should know. Those things we'll discuss, and later we can start working. Okay, the next thing is JavaScript array. That's an object. Yeah, I'm not saying maybe methods. We'll discuss more how we deal with the more functions what we have while working with arrays and objects. Then we'll start working on creating LWC component and all those things. In that process, sometimes we also need to connect that component to the Salesforce database to read the data. In that process, we need to know about Apex. So that time, after a few classes, we also start the Apex and understand the basics. And first we complete this LWC components, different concepts. Okay, for today, I think this is sufficient. In our next class, right? Next class is again as per US my Monday, which is Tuesday for you in India, some of you. Okay. So any questions before ending today? And also some of you, if you are joining only, I mean newly, so we are done with the demo sessions. Okay. So in case if you want to continue, you need to pay the fee and continue. Um, okay, so you can see that meeting invitation for the details. Okay, so you can proceed. So yeah, any questions before ending today? Any questions, anyone? No questions? Okay. We'll continue in our next class. Thank you.